когда кончается любимая оценка, это всегда печаль. Это все. Кажется, кто-то пошел на массу.
Здорово, ребят. Вот, будет это не спортивное видео. Это просто была такая вставочка в самом начале. Вот, сегодня прошли у нас презентации для сотрудников нашего протории. Поскольку я новый сотрудник, естественно, я тоже презентовал свое исследование. То есть цель этого мероприятия познакомить всех с работами других, да, сотрудников, чтобы можно было узнать, кому если что обратиться и так далее. Собственно, сами работы для вас особого интереса не составят, я это понимаю, но тут есть такой момент. Вы можете, у вас такая уникальная возможность потренироваться, послушать разные акценты. То есть среди выступающих я буду брать такие вот самое начало, да, где там поменьше терминологии еще идет, вот, где побольше именно такой дискуссии живой. То есть вы посмотрите, как тут происходит общение людей с разными акцентами, с разным уровнем знанием языка. То есть, ну, понятно, мой тут сейчас самый низкий, кто-то тут уже подольше, у него уже получится английский, кто-то тут всю жизнь живет, конечно, нейтив, он тут уже хорошо разговаривает быстро довольно-таки. И сегодня как раз таки будет один из парней, который очень-очень быстро говорит, за которым я сам лично вообще частично как-то понимал его. Вот, то есть благодаря большую часть информации понял из презентации, чем из его слов, если честно. Вот, но все остальные ребята там его хорошо понимали, даже что-то комментировать умудрялись. Вот, то есть на ваш суд. Интересно, можете посмотреть, как происходит общение. Я, естественно, не буду вставлять субтитры какие-то и пытаться это все переводить. Я просто вам дам куски прям на английском подряд, и где-нибудь тут вот внизу буду писать, наверное, просто родную страну выступающего, ну, то есть там Индия, например, Боливия, кто у нас там еще есть, Америка, ну, не знаю, в общем. Ну, насколько я осведомлен, то есть там есть ребята из Китая, есть ребята из Японии, Боливии, из России. Да, кстати, моей там не будет. Вот. Ну, потому что снимал я на свой ноутбук. Естественно, когда я пошел выступать, я взял свой ноутбук и пошел с ним. То есть никто меня уже не снимал. Да и, собственно, там смотреть-то не на чего. Все знают, какой русский акцент. Его легко узнать. Собственно, по нему меня вычислил здесь армянин, когда у нас была регистрация, я там спросил кое-какую информацию по Security Social Number, как его получать. Вот, а потом после регистрации подходит и говорит: слушай, ну вот, ты, говорит, откуда? Я говорю, из России. И уже так по-русски. Я понял сразу по твоему акценту. В общем, вот так вот, ребят. Небольшие куски я вам сейчас дам, может, минуты по полторы. Просто послушать речь. Ну и немножко окунуться в атмосферу вот этих исследований, чтобы вы понимали, где я находился, да, что я сегодня испытал. Вот. Ну, начнем.
Yeah. Well, you gotta make it memorable, so you gotta.
Hopefully you introduce yourself to everybody. Everybody met you, right?
Yeah. I introduce myself, and then I discuss the key problem of dealing with
Like the
patients.
typo, injured.
What's that?
I just can look at it and find the typo. Injured.
Oh.
It's like I don't even want to read it. I just like my eyes went there. You know, I was like.
Right.
I have a disease.
Yeah. And then we talk about how like a lot of the components of what we're working on has kind of been done before, but the key is combining them in a very specific way. And then how the key solution is the sort of audio video, the micro localization, making it work in a mesh network, and everything's infrastructure independent.
Yeah, you should have done a little show and tell. Did you show?
I can do a demo. I could try that. And then I was showing
Can I just make a comment about your bottom right graphic? I think you actually want the wireless range to overlap some of the access points, because conceptually you've got a hidden station problem there, because the two access points are never within the same circle.
Which yeah, I guess you're right. The diagram needs to show them overlapping, but just shows that their range overlaps. But yeah, that's a good point.
So you want him to just not have
Make
anything
the circles larger, a little larger.
larger?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
range
he
of
makes
each
the
other.
point that the range
Common
overlaps,
intersection.
but they're supposed to connect to each other. So yeah, the proper diagram would be a little larger.
So you want to, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Good point. Yeah.
I missed that one.
Remote access of a data-intensive computing application.
As we said, these applications are accessed by a remote desktop using a VNC client. What we preferred was Ultra VNC. It is impractical to carry or download large data for computation, so if you have an MRI scan, that might be terabytes or petabytes, so you can't just carry it around in a flash drive with you, so it's going to have to be stored in a remote server. Achieving the best quality of experience in these applications is essential, because if you're a medical researcher or a doctor, you might be looking for cancer or something similar like that, but it's also very difficult to do remotely, which we will get into more later. It is an interplay of quality of application and quality of service, and we will go into detail on what those exactly mean in this context.
So, in order to, that's missing something, there should be something behind that. Okay, so in order to figure out how we want to try to improve this, we're looking at several different aspects of it, ranging from the quality of application to the quality of service. The quality of application itself is referring to literally how does the application respond, image quality, responsiveness, anything else along those lines, time to load. Whereas quality of service generally has more to do with the network itself, right? Like what's your bandwidth connection like? Is there high latency? What kind of packet loss? That kind of thing. And those interplay to give you a result. So the 3Q decision model is taking a look at the various aspects of this. And one of the things we decided to look at was the quality of application by trying to alter encoding scheme selection. This was an ideal spot to look at, because if you're going to alter something on the idea of the client, the network, and the server, ideally you want to alter the client because it doesn't require making a sweeping change to the network, or worse, a sweeping change to the server itself. If you change the network, it can potentially affect other things, right? If you change the server, it affects everything that's connected to it. So it requires a lot more effort in fixing everything related to it. So if we can achieve this goal just by adjusting the client, it becomes much easier to try to implement and much more practical.
Expecting to use for my thesis. Custom templates for hybrid clouds application, design, and experimentation. The content is divided by introduction, problems and its important, research question, approach, methodology, and research plan and table. introduction. During the past years, the MU University has been working intensely in order to get access to internet through connection. Right now, MU is part of the internet infrastructure. That means that it's connected to 100 gig backbone. As part of this effort, MU has been deployed a science DMC infrastructure that is placed in the edge of the network, of the MU network here. And that infrastructure allows us to have connection to 1 gig bandwidth for different researchers and different projects without having to worry about the firewalls in the middle. And that connection is also known as an advanced layer service, as advanced layer 2 service or AL2S.
So like if you're talking like long title, short title, it's a title with panacea and your logo and branding. Some people can be really passionate. So what is your title?
So based on what I'm working on, I'll give it a name: automation of software-defined monitoring and software-defined networking. And also another aspect is dynamic queue management in software-defined networking.
Based on software-defined monitoring.
So this is the content, introduction, problem, approach, step, and my OKRs. So introduction, Ronnie already talked about the science DMDs. So what is science DMDs? Nowadays, the campuses are developing, are adopting a hybrid cloud model to support data-intensive application. These data-intensive applications require on-demand resources, but these on-demand resources are not always at the local side. For example, in SoyKB system, they need to utilize cloud resource in iClient server, and also plus there is also these security policies at the edge routers have significant impact on these data-intensive science applications. Thus, this leads the campus to build science DMZ with high bandwidth programmable network to provide a dedicated network for research traffics. This is the instruction, and now we have some.
I do have some very brief slides as well, if you're interested on
the PDN stuff.
On the exercise.
Oh, cool. Go ahead.
This is something that Prasad and I kind of finalized that seemed to be what I was doing about in July. So this is still fairly preliminary. I put all my jobs under there, so if I get bored, I can do a lot of different things. Titles are always great, so I came up with this one. I'm not going to read it because I'll stumble over it, but there's the acronym. If you know how to pronounce the acronym, good luck.
Is that a puzzle?
No, I was using every big word that.
Okay, I should spread my brain cells.
No, back to the acronyms. I think if you put big data in anything, it sounds really complex. So we have these big data networks, we have these science DMZs, we have a lot of shared resources across stuff. But how do we actually grant access? We do that kind of to some extent already. How do we grant particular sets of privileges to folks? And how these when they're in different locations. So on MU, we have the concept of a pull print. By virtue of your pull print, you maybe have an AD security group. But if I'm collaborating with likes of OSU or somewhere else, how do we actually extend that access privilege to some method of controlling other devices? We have a set of devices, be it physical or virtual. So in terms of, as a researcher, catalog, selecting I want to create a network for my SoyKB application, I need to configure a router to do this, and that. From a sysadmin point of view, oh my god, someone else is going to do stuff to my router or mess with firewall rules. So there has to be some method of granting appropriate level of permissions that actually do same stuff to different people. So how do we grant permissions to allow people to do what they need to do, at the same time not break other people's stuff, I think is about the simplest way of presenting that.
Social filter in persona, and the other is the filter program in the matrix. The last one is about social development. So first, we can talk about the social filter in persona. So first, I want to say some concept about persona. Persona is an infrastructure network performance monitor, making it easier to solve end-to-end performance problems on process zero networks. So persona provides uniform interface that allows for scheduling measurements from one point to another and storing data uniform formats and measure to retrieve data and generate the visualization. So this is the figure about the persona works. So user can request a measurement from one point to another, and the next we can storage the measurement results from the server in the server or some data center, and the user can download the measurements and for analyze the visualization.
Did you draw this figure?
No,
You found something, yeah.
So just to give an overview of what I am doing right before I go to the slides. So we have been having access control mechanisms in a single domain where you have users and then you have roles, and then you map users to roles based on whether he's a student, whether he's a faculty, or whether he's a postdoc, or such kind of mappings happens, and that is really convenient because you know the access requirements when you are in a single domain system. Like if you are in a University of Missouri, you know that you have this guy is a student, this guy is a faculty, and this guy is a postdoc. But when we are moving across domains, that is inter-domain access provisioning, we do not know, and when there are collaborations going on across domains, across different universities, a professor here might be a postdoc fellow, doc fellow somewhere else, or he might have some other position in some other organization, and satisfying the requirements of all these people is a major task. And we in this paper we are trying to analyze between two access control mechanisms, that is the traditional role-based access control and the latest access control, that's the attribute-based access control. We are creating a case study where we are mathematically showing which access control is better in which scenario, and then we are trying to explain we are using attribute-based access control in our scenario because of the following reasons. So let me go.
As I try to make it, there are significant improvement for Philippines toolkit, and the problem that I saw in Philippines toolkit version 1.0. That is.
So what is Philippines toolkit?
Yeah,
There is a slide.
Yeah, I want to introduce that in the next slide. It is difficult to deploy the tool on the network system like female large network system, and the tool is not scalable, modifiable, or maintainable. And the output of the tool is too simple. We need to improve to make it more convenient for the analyzing. And the most important thing is to be not intelligent. So I'm going to show you how the video and toolkit work. And this is the overview of the feedback system. And,
Ну что, надеюсь, вам понравилось. Собственно, если вам интересны выпуски, там, лайкайте, дизлайкайте, как хотите. Ваша воля. Вот. Также, если интересна эта тема обучения за рубежом, жизни тут в США, то есть я эти моменты тоже иногда затрагиваю. Подписывайтесь на мой канал, тем самым вы не потеряетесь на YouTube. Всего хорошего. Пока.